advancing the power of education around the world. Welcome to the Cyanna Podcast.
Thanks for joining us. If you're brand new to maybe who is Cyanna, hopefully we do a great job of answering those questions for you today. So left to right, I want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. First up, Mark, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Mark Sullivan, president at Cyanna Education Services. I oversee the big three, which I know we'll be talking about today.
Awesome. Ashley Gottschalk with Cyanna Education Services, and I am a sales account executive there for Edlumina, our CRM and SIS.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Misner, and I'm the VP of Public Affairs and Workforce Development.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Thanks for making it out. And for everyone who is on the live feed today, again, thanks for joining us. I want to turn it over to Mark Sullivan first. So, Mark, can you give us just a little bit of an idea of who Cyanna is, how did it start, and, what is, just, a good 10,000 foot view of Cyanna today?
Sure. Cyanna was founded by our CEO and founder, Chris Eccles, with the idea of marrying compliance and technology. Mm-hmm. And so the foundation of Cyanna is built on regulatory and compliance. So regulatory experts, we have clients in all 50 states, dealing with 11 different accreditors right now, clients in 4 different continents. So really regulatory experts. Second thing we do very well is Edlumina, which is our platform that our schools use to manage lead to enrollment to alumni, and everything in between. And then third thing we do really well is custom curriculum development, where we work with educators, employers, anybody, training organizations to build custom curriculum to serve the needs of their clients.
So now, Cyanna staffs a number of folks, but what I think is really strong about Cyanna is a lot of your folks, if I'm not mistaken, have all worked in higher ed or vocational training, these types of jobs.
Yeah, I mean, Cyanna was built out of schools, right? So everybody who works on the team is either run a school, admissions, compliance, president. Correct. Everything in between. So when we work with clients, we know exactly when they say their challenges, what those challenges are, because we lived them, breathed them.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit first. So you mentioned there's the big three, and I want to give everyone a chance to, kind of add their piece there within. But first off, as far as the compliance side goes, what does that mean? Like when folks need compliance help, especially as it relates to education, what does that mean?
Sure. We deal with a lot of nascent entities, folks who come with a great idea. Hey, I have training that can serve the community that I'm in. And most folks don't realize that if you're in the education business, selling education to the public, you're regulated wherever you are. Highly regulated. Right. So every state has rules and regs around it. And so we really work with our clients to understand what the rules and regs are in their location, how to be in compliance with it so that their students have the confidence that they are attending a school that is approved.
So when you say in their location though, right? So we're not just talking about state, right? Because oftentimes multiple states have multiple bodies that overseeing depending on what you are teaching, right?
Exactly. So when we work with clients, especially international is a great example, say, hey, I want to start a certificate program in X state. All right, that might be one regulatory body. They say, well, maybe it's a degree granting. That could be a whole nother regulatory body, such as in our home state here of Ohio, separate regulatory bodies for separate types of programs, non-degree granting, degree granting. So helping clients really understand that landscape of regulatory oversight.
And sometimes there's even a level of like state level programmatic approvals, right? Like cosmetology. What else? Maybe like nursing?
Truck driving.
Could
be under the Department of Transportation. Cosmetology, Board of Cosmetology, massage under the medical board. So it really just depends on, and again, every state is different.
So that's at the state level. Talk to us a little bit about what it means to be accredited and what an organization needs to be thinking about when they come to the table. Say, okay, I've been up and operating. I want to get accredited.
Yep.
I would imagine that sometimes, those clients, they think they know what that means, or they think they kind of know what goes into it, but just talk to us a little bit about that process.
Sure. Clients who want accreditation, really accreditation does 2 things for you. One is it's a gatekeeper for Title IV. So for our clients who say, hey, we want to offer Title IV, student loans, grants, things like that. Yeah. You have to be accredited to even participate. But the other half of our clients come to us say, we don't want Title IV. We just want our students to know that they are attending a school that is recognized. We've put ourselves through a third-party vendor or validation that our
Right.
programs meet the requirements of a U.S. Department of Education approved organization. And it's a long process. It's 12, 14, 18, 24 months, depending on the accreditor. So it's a rigorous process that you have to show that entity that you meet the standards, their standards.
So we've talked a bit about what the applications of compliance are: state, national, et cetera, programmatic. But when it comes to Cyanna, right? Like, what is it? What does that look like? How does Cyanna augment your existing team? What's it like to work through a process like this?
So we take a collaborative approach with our clients. So ultimately the goal is through our process of either going through state licensure or accreditation, we are training our clients and their staff how to operate a school to meet those requirements before the site visit.
Right. So
Right.
it's almost operational as well as all of the paperwork. And
Yep. Here are the rules, here are
checklists.
the regs, here are the standards. Here's what we recommend doing, how to implement it, how to document that you're implementing it. And so by the time you come up for your site visit by that regulator, you're already operating as an approved school or like an approved school. There's nothing to change as you get to that point of final approval.
Gotcha. And then, one final question on this. Can you give us an example of like almost like a living, breathing case study of someone who came to you with an idea, and then after partnering with Cyanna, what was that outcome like?
Sure. So we've taken two groups internationally who've come to us with an idea. So we want to start a university in the US. And we say, all right, here's the process, right? Here's the 5-year timeline that you have to travel down. And we help them get into a jurisdiction and pick a state and become licensed in that state. So 12 months to get licensed. Then once they transition to operational, because in the US you cannot operate or market a school until you're licensed in that state.
Wow.
So then we've helped them go through that year or 2 years of operations in preparation to become accredited. So a group out of London, England, we help do that. Group out of Amman, Jordan, do the exact same thing. So really understanding the rules and regs and helping them step by step through that process.
Gotcha. So I want to pivot from here, because as you're sort of laying the foundation, right, for a school to be successful, right, this is operations, this is compliance, this is accreditation, licensure, all of those things. Sign always says, the most important part of your school or your organization is often what you teach and how you teach it. So I want to pivot here to Brittany for a second to kind of talk about the curriculum side of things. And I think it's interesting because given your background, right, you come at it from maybe not a traditional brick and mortar school. So maybe you can give us first, Brittany, a little bit of background on how you got to this role and how that helps folks at Cyanna.
Absolutely. So my experience is from a workforce standpoint. So helping employers with workforce training, human resource services, and making sure that they have the tools to make sure that they're recruiting and retaining the right employees.
That's tough today. It is.
It's extremely tough. And, when I came on board with Cyanna and I get to see what they're doing, not only from a higher education standpoint, but now also an employer standpoint, they are the experts in building curriculum. And I've been blown away at some of the things they've been able to accomplish.
And that's great. So, talk a little bit about what Cyanna does for an organization who's looking to, attract, train, and even just keep hold of really good employees.
So you referenced it, building curriculum, right? They can build it for higher education, for post-secondary, but also the employer aspect. And so anywhere from onboarding your employees, which can be a tedious piece of the puzzle, right? It can be you standing in front of them all day, trying to make sure that they're getting all the information they need to be successful in their start with a new company. Or it can be showing them a bunch of different videos and hoping that they retain the information that you're throwing at them within the first 24 hours of employment. Or it can look like how we onboard at Cyanna. And that is interactive. It's immersive. It's a new way of being able to truly disseminate information. And that's going to help with not only retention of the employees and making sure that they feel successful in starting a new career, but also just knowledge retention. And the studies show that over 75% more retention is done whenever you are adding in technology and immersive learning. And we can provide that opportunity for employers.
So that's interesting. So, as far as, onboarding goes, you said something interesting there about how, you're standing in front of them. And as all of us here have had our own staff at some point, right? Carving out time to train is a huge hurdle. And then you often feel rushed. It's like herding cats. How do we get all these staffers in the same place? Are they not distracted, right? So what Cyanna does, with their online portal for online education, it's what's the word? Asynchronous, right? So they can do it on their own time. You don't have to herd everybody. And, it can really include all of like the bells and whistles of like any good online education class, right? You've got interactive labs, videos, podcasts, transcriptions, all that stuff. So,
and I think the important part to acknowledge is a lot of times these organizations, they're a human resource department of one, or it's one leader managing lots of people. And so this makes sure that the information that's being relayed is consistent. How many times have we been standing in front of a room giving a training and we forgot one part of it, or we've done it 5 times in the last 5 days because of the turnover we're experiencing. And so now it's all there, it's packaged together.
It's consistent. Yes.
Bingo. It's consistent. And then like you said, it doesn't have to be done on, I'm going to do orientation from 10 until 2 p.m. every day for the next week. You can really task the employees with accomplishing orientation and know when they've completed it and have that data.
And Mark, if I'm not mistaken, we can also work in third-party certification to really truly vet what the results are, right? Isn't that what's they called? NetCert,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. And to support what Brittany's saying, it's really about today's generation's a different world, right? We find our educators and employers, if they connect with someone's purpose, their retention is much stronger. The learning outcomes are much stronger, right? We just brought on a great client here in Central Ohio where they would send their employees through online training that everybody else takes, and they were losing people in day one because they don't understand that what purpose is that? How are they building a purpose to their company? So we help create 3 custom courses specifically for their business that they can build purpose with their employees. And they've seen a great increase in retention just by bringing that employee into the fold.
Gotcha. So we've talked a little bit about what it's like on the employee side or the employer side, right? But let's kind of go back to Cyanna's roots in traditional education. Someone wants to work with Cyanna. They want to get their courses online. I want to launch a course. The first questions are what? Like, what do you ask a new potential client in terms of like, how do we get this ball rolling?
Yeah, the first question is does content exist? Are we starting with something that you just want to take and enhance and make better? And we work with a lot of clients that have really good content, but for today's learner, they need to increase engagement. They need to increase video, and they need to make sure that it's moving quickly while students are learning and absorbing the knowledge. So it's always about, and Kelly, who is our director of academics, always says that she's an architect, right? She takes the design and builds it into something that's going to be engaging, and students are going to want to just keep going through the process, right? The Facebook, just keep scrolling. So, and then any missing gaps, we help fill in with video, AR, any technologies that are going to increase engagement.
I'm going to circle back to that AR piece here shortly, but I think, if I'm looking to start a program and I'm concerned about what I'm teaching, there's still a direct connection to the first topic, which was compliance, right? Sometimes we have to figure out, what are you teaching? Is it regulated? What are the expected outcomes there, right? So how do those two worlds kind of tie together? And what are some of the potential considerations, or even the potential pitfalls of someone who is thinking about a regulated curriculum?
I think they all come back to the same thing, which is, what is your student or employee? What are you trying to teach them? What are the outcomes? What are the course objectives? What are the program objectives? And how are you validating that those objectives are being met, either through passing grades, passing exam scores, employee retention. All of it comes back to the same thing: is there a purpose for the education that's being delivered, whether it's regulated or not?
Interesting.
And very similar in a training perspective in a
Mhm.
workforce, right? There's requirements that have to be completed for every employee to operate certain machinery, to be
Mhm.
able to be advanced to a new level of position. So all of those things can be integrated.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So back to the point that you mentioned about AR, XR or extended reality, including augmented reality and even virtual reality. It's gaining popularity. More folks are able to kind of wrap their head around it. Brittany, you were just leading a booth here in Central Ohio for a manufacturer's day, and we had heavy duty VR out and on display, and folks were testing it out. Can you talk just a little bit about that, and how Cyanna operates in that space?
Absolutely. So, heavy duty VR is a way to utilize virtual reality, immersive learning, and train employees. So, this example specifically is for a forklift. Right.
Mhm.
So, a lot of times when you're interested in training a forklift driver, there's a lot of things to consider.
Mhm.
One, if they even have the skill set to do it, and you really don't know that until they get on there.
That's it.
Two, the liability that comes with it. That person could hurt themselves, they could hurt others, they could damage property. There's a lot of liability from that standpoint. So this training is wonderful. And this is coming from back in my safety training days, where it really eliminates those things and allows them to experience what it's like to operate a forklift or another piece of machinery. Could be an
Sure.
example, because all of this is customizable, right?
Right.
And it allows them to immerse themselves into that environment without all of those liabilities, but gives them the same experience as if they were operating it in that plant. Another part that's my favorite is that it's not just any environment that you're entering from a virtual standpoint. It can be customized to look exactly like your warehouse floor or your manufacturing plant.
That's right.
So if you have an office to the left and 5 racks of material to your left or your right, it's all there. And so it really gives them an opportunity to see what they're going to experience when they do get onto the forklift.
Right. And heavy duty VR connects to our Lumina platform, which is who's been waiting patiently here, Ashley, for her turn. But that's a good segue because heavy duty VR does connect with our SIS, and you can enroll in these online classes because everything in that VR headset is connecting online. Right. And so, Ashley, thank you so much for your patience, but wanted to maybe you can kick things off by introducing what Lumina is as our ed tech platform.
Sure. Yeah. So Illumina is our admissions platform, and really it does handle the entire student life cycle. So from the time a lead comes in until they are ultimately alumni, Illumina can support all of that. So we have both a CRM and an SIS. And really what we always tell schools is this is the foundation of your school, having a good software in place that allows you to manage students. It helps you to ultimately enroll more students. It helps you to not let leads slip through the cracks. And from a compliance standpoint, it really acts as like an e-file and has all of the student data there, all of the documents, all of your communication in there. So it really is a great platform from that aspect.
So for folks that are watching and then listening live, and they're like, there's a lot of, are they called anagrams? I don't know, but there's a CRM, there's an SIS. Can you kind of break that down and give us, simple definitions, but also why that's important?
Yeah, absolutely. So a CRM is your customer relationship management system. And so again, that is going to be everything from the time a lead comes in until they enroll. So really that's your admissions portion of it.
And so a CRM for folks that maybe like a Salesforce is a CRM for all types of different sales, but Lumina is specific for education.
Exactly. Yeah. So and I will actually at some point share my screen too and show a little bit of this because I think it is easier to sometimes see a software than just talk about it. But yes, it really is. All the language in it is made for schools, as I know that Mark was talking about. Like we do come from that education background, and that is how everything was built here at Cyanna. And then the student information system is the SIS that I referred to. So that's everything from the time they enroll enroll until they graduate from your school. So
Gotcha. So some of our online classes connect into EdLumina. Some of our VR classes connect into EdLumina. It has connectivity not only with our systems, but outside systems, right?
right. Yep. You are
Okay.
spot on.
All right. So do you want to just give us a little,
Sure.
a little quick demo on? All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen here.
Excellent.
And so I'm just going to do a very quick overview because I feel like I could talk about EdLumina for way too long.
There will be other webinar
There will be
opportunities.
other
for sure.
opportunities to
For
learn
sure.
more about EdLumina.
Okay.
But I'm just going to touch on the admission side. So again, that's the CRM piece from the time a lead comes in until they enroll. But there are just a few things high level that I want to show about EdLumina that makes it such a great software.
Well, first off, it's beautiful. It is colorful. It is a good looking software.
It is, and that's why I like to start here. So this is the dashboard down here. And this just really gives you a good glimpse of some of the information that's in the system. So again, it's pretty. You can set any sort of custom date range, as you can see right here. But you get a lot of just good information. But the one piece I love to point out on this screen especially is this map. And I'm going to zoom in a little. Hopefully you can see the lines a little bit better. But here you can hover over any of the states and see where your enrollments are coming from.
Yeah.
And what else is really cool about that is you can also break this down by zip code. And this is a newer feature to EdLumina, where you can actually see where your enrollments are coming from within your state. We do work with a lot of different industries and a lot of different schools.
And school types,
And
right?
school types. So we have some schools that have multiple campuses and they have students coming from all over. And then we have some schools that are one campus, maybe have less than 100 students, and most of their enrollments are coming from within their state. So having the ability to break it down by zip code and know what high school should I be targeting, or
where should I be marketing to?
Where should I be marketing? Yes, exactly. All of that is super important. So I'm going to pop down to lead activity. And really, this is just showing you when leads come into the system, this is where they're coming. So leads do come into the system from your website. So we would set up an API so that a student goes to your website, they fill out your web form, they would come right here. And it's super easy to manage, to see all of the student information. We have a lot of different ways to filter leads, search for leads, and you can customize all of your headers and things like that. But really easy to go in here, see your leads, manage appointments, things like that. Now, lead profile. I promise I'm not going to take too much time on it, EdLumina, but a lead profile here. Again, I like to show this because it is just a great e-file of the student, and it's so organized, and I really think that it's a great place to keep all of that student data. So within here, you're going to be able to see all of your message history. So one thing I should note with EdLumina is you can do automated messages, direct messages, and mass messages, all via text or email from our platform. So right here, you would see all of your message history living in EdLumina, which again, from a compliance standpoint, I think is great because you can see exactly what's being sent and returned. Again, you can set up those automated messages. And then within here, you can manage your appointments, all of those things. But the other thing I just want to touch on here is the document piece. So students do have a login on the admissions portal, on the admissions side. It's like a student portal, and it allows them to complete and upload documents. So really, it can streamline your whole admissions process. And I think for this younger generation who is so tech savvy, it makes for a really good experience on the student side. They can go in, do their admissions process using technology, which is what they like.
Exactly. And so this is how a student starts their process, but they can also log into EdLumina and access courses. And for certain clients where it actually makes sense, they can purchase courses, right?
Yes, you are right. So EdLumina does have a few components. So we mentioned the CRM, we mentioned the SAS, and then there's the catalog component, which is really where you are accessing those courses. And whether it's from a school perspective, a workforce perspective, but you can go in there, access your courses. We can integrate with different platforms like you mentioned, where they can view that content, and you can get that reporting.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So as this all sort of kind of wraps up, Mark, you have a number of clients that start a partnership at Cyanna with maybe one piece of this puzzle. And then what often happens?
Yeah, and then they become customers across multiple verticals. So we start off with licensure. And of course, it's 2022. So fireproof cabinets, not really the coolest thing in today's world. So
That's a school joke, guys.
introducing them to a platform where they can solve all their problems. Everything is right there. They don't have to worry about paper.
It's a centralized hub for all users, students and staff.
It's the new foundation, right?
Yeah.
It's the new schoolhouse, so to speak, as a strong platform, and schools use it, and also our employers. So our employers, we will API into their database of employers that will send them right into the SIS catalog. So there's integrations there as well, and then also helping them build great curriculum, right? Ultimately, the goal of any educational program, whether it's for a college, university, or employer, is achieving outcomes that you want that individual to learn. So we'll build custom courses as well.
Gotcha. So even pre-pandemic, Cyanna has been adept at working remotely with our clients. It's this idea of team augmentation, right? So can you give us, back to like the root of this webinar? What's it like to work with Cyanna? Let's say I'm a school in Washington State, right? What's this interaction like? What's it like to actually be in the trenches?
Sure. So being remote historically has been it's been a smooth process for us, which is we meet regularly with our folks. We take a collaborative approach. We will go on site if we need to. You say Washington, D.C. I was just out at a client at Washington, D.C. in person to help make sure that we're moving the process along. But what's great about Cyanna is that we're a U.S.-based company. So you call support, you call me, you call any of the team. We're, 90% of us are within a driver away from where we're sitting right here in Central Ohio, and my other folks are in the U.S. as well. So everything is U.S. made.
That's great. And so, sometimes we like to, pitch ourselves as a good fit for other clients, but it's always a two-way street. And so what type of organizations is Cyanna looking to engage with?
Sure. We look for partnerships. That's one of our big 4 values is partnerships. And we can't always help everybody, right? So one of the promises I always make to my potential clients is I will not take you on as a client if we do not think you can be successful. If we do not think Edlumina is a good fit for you, we will not sell you Edlumina. If we do not think we can build you awesome content, we will not take you on as a client. We look for partners that we know can be successful and we can help them be successful, but also that are with us for the long haul. And our second client is still with us from 2008. So we build partnerships.
That's a really good point. Okay. Well, guys, thanks so much. Ashley, Brittany, any other topics that you want to share with today, or maybe we'll save it for a future webinar?
I'll have to do that.
All right. So Ashley, plug you have a webinar coming up next month. Can you give us a little information about that?
Yes, December 15th, I will be doing a webinar with Jen Lyles. She is with Beauty School Directory. And so I'm not exactly sure what the topic will be, but I'm sure it's going to be something really interesting and talking a little bit more about the cosmetology space. But yes, it is. We always have fun.
Okay, great. And so if they're looking for Edlumina and demos, videos, more content, they can check out edlumina.com, right?
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, at the bottom of every page, they can click to contact you.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Perfect. And the rest of the team can be found at cyanna.com.
Yep.
And so, guys, thanks so much for your time today. And thanks to everyone who tuned in live. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.